night a month since last October, all our data had been trashed. Some called it software pirates, others said the disk had crashed. The boss called me Joe Van Helsing and he said, "You two are bright. I don't care how you do it, but I want it fixed tonight." Well, we came in after dinner, and the place was like a tomb, and the pale fluorescence flicker cast cold shadows in the room. We ran all the diagnostics, the results were looking great, so we loaded the debugger, and we settled down to wait. Then the minutes passed like hours, and the hours felt like days, and the console seemed to shimmer in a caffeine-loaded haze, till a little after midnight, as the full moon reached its height, and it shone in through the skylight with a pale and sickly light. Then the moonlight touched the console, and it crawled along the floor, till it reached the old 650 in the corner by the door. It must be 30 years since that machine was last plugged in, but when the moonlight touched it, that old drum began to spin. As the drums went up, we heard it, a sad unearthly wail, and the vacuum tubes were glowing with a luster grim and pale. The console typer rattled with a sound like shaken bone, and we watched in growing horror as a cord snaked toward the phone. The mainframe's modem answered the 650's ghostly call. "We'll send to me your data and then erase it all." And the modem beeped and twittered as the mainframe lost its mind. "My God," cried Joe Van Helsing, "that's a vampire on the line." I slammed the mainframe's reset switch so fast I broke my hand. Joe dove at the 650. I didn't see him land. He ripped its cover open, and I heard him give a shout. Then there came a harsh metallic scream, and all the lights went out. I pulled Joe from the wreckage by the pale moon's waning light. He was out cold but still breathing. I hoped he'd be all right. And by the moon's last glimmer, I could make out what he'd done. He'd wedged his silver tie clip in the thing's magnetic drum. When the gray dawn lit the windows, Joe finally came to. He looked like death warmed over, but he knew just what to do. So we got some silver solder, tied its input pins to ground, and jabbed a wood stake through the drum. I still can hear that sound. Came in next morning. He asked, "How was your night?" Joe answered, "Well, we found it. Just a vampire megabyte." Then we saw the console. The boss said, "Now what's this hack?" On the screen in fiery letters was the message, "I'll be back." We realized as we were setting up the set that would probably go just as well with next year's theme, which is the lighter side of horror.
Yes, but that depends on whether they let us back next year.
We will.
Which is highly dubious. But, this was the first song that all three of us collaborated on so thoroughly that it's difficult to tell who did what. The words are almost entirely by Naomi, but I did a rough cut of the melody, and then the two of them came down for a visit, and we changed it beyond all recognition.
It was just before consonants, and you had your keyboard out, and that really helps me in the composing part.
Yes. And then we sang it at consonants, as I recall.
It's called The October Country.
Have you ever seen the fairies dance, greasing their hair and black leather pants, kicking up their heels, throwing back their heads, bumping into trees like drunken kids, legs and arms all over the place? nothing that you'd ever call style or grace. Still, if ever you get the chance, you may as well go and see the fairies dance.
Have you ever heard the griffin speak? A plug of tobacco stuffed in his cheek. He's often huffy and hard to please, and his cousin could peel the bark off trees. He'll tell you more than your mama knows. Why the widow bites, how the poppy grows, why soot is black, it will take a week. But anyhow, go and hear the griffin speak. Left at the traffic light, right at the store, underneath the broken heart over the war. It's a different picture, though you found the frame, and the song never does remain the same.
Not for the grown are the airs and grasses, sweet summer daisies, bright-faced lasses. Take the fly trap and the tarnished face, you can go back again, but it's a different place.
Have you ever seen the playground dark?